Hello, and what is going on, everybody? I am Master of the TDS, and I'm joined by my lovely wife,
WritingRaven.
And we're back for another episode of Psycho-Synopsis. 3 topics from the past week, all summarized in one video for you to enjoy and consume at your leisure.
You're welcome. Now let's get into it.
Nice. Social issues I try to get in the background or underlaying a plot, but never to the point of letting it interfere with the story or hitting the reader over the head.
I'm
getting tired of putting up with garbage like you.
Fans are upset with the decision to make the character Morph non-binary in the upcoming XMen 97 animated series, fearing it will negatively impact Wolverine's portrayal.
Sigh. Why are they doing this?
So we have to recognize that one of the things people are upset about is not just that they're making Morph non-binary, is that he was already established in the show and he was not non-binary.
And he's dead.
Well, they're obviously bringing him back and whatever. Apparently it didn't stick. But regardless, the fact that they are changing things already and finding a way to do this is not a good sign.
Are they doing it just because he's a shapeshifter?
Probably.
Ugh. So yeah, there's concern. Obvious concern when it says he's going to have a buddy relationship with Wolverine. What does that even mean, buddy relationship?
Well, hopefully it's just like a mentor thing. I hope it doesn't go anywhere else. I don't think it would, obviously. I think that the character is much younger, but it is a concern.
Well, Wolverine is about 100 years old, so.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that in the actual trailer, which looks pretty good, a newspaper blows by the Daily Bugle, and in the top right corner, it mentions the Hellfire Gala.
And if you haven't seen previous videos, the Hellfire Gala is a stupid ball/event where all the X-Men dress up in these frivolous costumes that do nothing for their characters whatsoever.
It's apparently supposed to be a thing where they renew contracts with the humans and other villains. It's literally mutant prom.
It is mutant prom.
The fact that they're already kind of doing these changes and we're seeing these little things thrown in here and there is enough to be concerned. Now, we have to recognize that the trailer itself doesn't really look that bad.
It doesn't. The animation is definitely aiming towards more 90s style animation, which I can respect. They even have some of the voice actors back. I recognized, Cyclops' voice.
They also have Wolverine's voice actor back. It's the same one, but he's older.
Yeah, that's why he sounds different.
But, yes, it all looks good, and maybe it will be good. And if it does turn out to be good, we will acknowledge that. But the issue is that when we're already seeing them making changes before and, trying to insert this stuff, for a lot of people, it won't matter whether it's good or not. They'll just be done and they'll leave.
Yeah, there are people already leaving just by this one announcement.
A lot of people have fond memories of the X-Men animated series, and so a lot of people are going to tune into it just for that. But seeing the changes, there are more. There's Jean Grey's pregnant, they defeminized Rogue. We'll have to see how the final product ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
But one good thing I guess we could point out is the guy who's in charge at Beau DeMayo, was actually working on the Witcher series and left because they refused to adhere to the source material, and he believes that in order to work on a project, you need to adhere to the source material, which is a bonus towards him, I would say.
True, he did say that he was only letting fans of the original show be part of the original of the new show's creation.
Now, he also mentioned that how the show's going to have some elements of him being a gay black man in it, and I don't see what that needs to be a part of it.
It doesn't.
Now, you could argue that a lot of things have a little bit of their creators put in it, but insertion is different from having your own experience come in when you're writing.
That is true. I put my own experience in my writing all the time, but I do it subtly and in ways that actually suits the story and the character I'm creating. I don't just put it in for putting it in's sake.
I think that a lot of people are more hopeful for this, but again, even if these changes end up being not that big of a deal, I think that it was stupid to make them. I think it was not necessary, and by doing that, they're going to alienate a lot of people they're trying to bring back in.
True, and they've already succeeded. My only hope is that they don't make pregnant G. Grey fight while pregnant. Because, trust me, I've read the Pregnant Spider-Woman comic. It makes no sense.
So we'll have to wait and see how it ends up doing. Right now, it seems okay, aside from these concerns, but we'll have to wait and see how things play out in the long run.
Yeah.
Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four.
The last time he was in an argument, he didn't have to stretch. His best friend actually rocks. When he takes a woman out for dinner, he always gets spaghetti. He is
Stronger man.
the smartest man in the world.
Hold it. Run that back.
Bruh.
Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Evan Moss Bachrach, and Joseph Quinn will star as Marvel's Fantastic Four in the upcoming movie set to be released on July 25th, 2025.
A little too late for that.
The film itself is being directed by Matt Shakman, and as we said, it's being released not this year, it's being released next year.
Yeah. And they only just announced the casting for it, and it's not a very good cast.
Now, a lot of people have been speculating about the cast for a long time, and there was word that Pedro was going to be cast as Reed Richards, and we've reported on that before.
True, and we still think it's a pretty bad casting. He looks nothing like Reed!
It's not even that he looks nothing like Reed, because here's my thing. This is going to sound strange, but if you were to have Pedro Pascal shave his mustache and shave his beard, and then you were to dye a little bit of his hair a little more gray or white, he might look a little more like Reed Richards.
Maybe. But he would also need to bleach his skin.
He doesn't embody the character very well. This person is Reed Richards, the smartest man in the world. And I just do not see Pedro that way. He might be a decent actor, but he just doesn't fit the role.
But he's also in everything! Please, hire someone else!
People get mad about Chris Pratt being in everything, but they seem to be okay with Pedro being in everything. And if you dare to say that you don't want to see this because Pedro's in it, you're bad.
Sigh.
One could also argue that it's way too late to be bringing them into the MCU. And you're not even doing it this year. If you were doing it this year, whatever. But next year, July?
Yeah.
Do you really think that Deadpool's going to fix everything?
I hope he will, but he won't. Unless it's Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe and he actually hops out of the movie to kill the writers and Kevin Feige in Minecraft.
Look, I'll be honest here. I'm going to go on a limb here and say something that I think is going to be very controversial, and I'm curious to see what you people think in the comments. I know people don't really have a very fond memories of the Fantastic Four film with Jessica Alba and whatever. I like that film.
So do I. I will die on the hill that it is the best casting of Reed Richards there will ever be.
I'm not so certain I agree about Reed. I will say it for Ben Grimm. I think they did the most amazing casting for him.
True.
Now,
it was also the most comic book accurate look for Doctor Doom that we have ever gotten.
Yes and no. Again, it wasn't perfect, but...
No, but he looked like Doom.
It's better than that monstrosity we got in the Fantastic Four movie that was not that long ago, where he was kind of a combination of like Annihilus and Doom, and he looked even worse.
Yeah, he looked like a living robot. Kind of like a Necron, but not nearly a skeletal.
Now, when we talk about this movie, we're talking about the first movie, okay? The second movie was not good.
Technically, the first movie was from the 70s. We're talking about the one from 2005.
I meant the first movie in this two movies. The
True,
second one
true.
was not good. I will give the second one credit. It did have the scene of Stanley being turned away from the wedding, which is in the comics, which I actually felt was really good.
Which apparently was his favorite cameo. Rest in peace, Stanley.
but I don't think we need this, and I think it's too little too late. I mean, you're going to make us wait that long, and to be fair, a lot of people are burned down on the MCU. I think that you should just kind of reset the entire thing and start off fresh with Fantastic Four. But they're not going to do that. They're going to build off everything else that already is there, and most people have, quite frankly, checked out.
Yeah, kind of including us.
Well, we checked out a while ago, but look, I want Marvel movies to be good again. I would love to have movies on the caliber of Iron Man or whatever, but we're not getting them, and they don't seem to learn from their mistakes.
No, and they also spend too much money that doesn't even go to the VFX artists.
I just want to say this. What happened to practical effects? I think that what we should be using CGI for is to have anything that we cannot do practically put in with CGI. That's what I'm saying. But all these movies now are so expensive because they shove CGI in it. It's not necessary.
You are completely right.
Pedro being in this makes it very uninteresting to me, but we'll have to wait and see as more news comes out about it, what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
Flashback.
So, while my character in the movie may be able to see the future, I also can. And I know what the future brings. I know that when you see Madam Web, you're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice.
End of flashback.
Oh no! What happened? Oh no! How terrible! That's just awful! How terrible! Oh no!
Madam Web, starring Dakota Johnson, is described as utterly terrible with a boring plot and unplayable roles, potentially signaling a decline in superhero movies despite being a part of the Sony Spider-Man universe.
Wah, wah. We all saw that coming.
It doesn't surprise me to hear this movie isn't doing well, and is anybody really surprised to hear this?
No.
Because we just come off the Marvels, and everybody on Twitter now is, oh, the Marvels is amazing. Yeah, sure, you didn't go see it, so shut up.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, Madam Web was not an interesting character. Was an interesting character in the Spider-Man universe, I should say, but wasn't an interesting character on her own. She wasn't.
She was also more interesting when she was old, paralyzed, and blind, and on life support, and was a mentor to Peter.
Well, speaking of Peter, Ben Parker is in this movie.
And so is his pregnant sister-in-law, Mary Parker, a.k.a. Peter's mom.
Well, they can't actually mention its name, her name, gonna name the child Peter, so they have to kind of skip over that. But this film didn't need to be made.
Not at all. And not to mention that the actors thought it was going to be a Marvel movie, not realizing it's actually a Sony product.
Now, we have to clarify something. A lot of people are reporting on that, and there has been no definitive evidence that that is the case.
It's really more speculation.
But both the couple of the actresses tagged Marvel Studios, and then one of them fired their agent, which is making people think that maybe they kind of didn't know they were going to be in the Sony film and thought it was going to be a Marvel Studios film. And if that's true, it wouldn't surprise me, but we don't have any evidence, so this is pure speculation.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found interesting is this film is being panned everywhere. There's a couple weirdos online who are like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, it's the best thing since The Dark Knight.
Those people must have brain damage.
But what I've been seeing, which is really weird, and I want to touch on, is that there's a lot of articles coming out about whether or not it's going to get a sequel.
It's not.
And I'm just like, look, this movie, from what I've seen, the best review I've seen is that it's so bad it's good.
My favorite review is what was it about? It was a dumpster fire in a volcano that smelled like moldy fish?
No, it was that Madam Web is a dumpster fire.
Madam Web is a burning dumpster thrown into a volcano filled with moldy fish.
Yeah, that's a very interesting title, but it is an actual title, which is quite funny.
Indeed it is.
But look, what were you expecting? Now, we have heard there are articles already coming out defending it, saying there were lots of rewrites. Who cares? This movie was not going to do well. It was not something that anybody asked for, and I'm tired of seeing these Sony movies with no Spider-Man in it.
You had Andrew Garfield. You should have left him in it.
Or, better yet, here's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
If Sony has the rights to Spider-Man and they don't want to share right now with the MCU, Why not make their own new version of Spider-Man show up in the film?
They could totally do that, and they won't for some reason.
I don't get it. I just think that Sony's never going to let go of those rights, and now we're also looking forward to Kraven the Hunter.
Which is not at all Kraven the Hunter!
It's Kraven time.
But if he's hunting humans instead of animals, then he is not Kraven.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he's craving something. He's craving justice. That is not Kraven!
These Sony Spider-Man-less movies did not need to be made, and I am tired of seeing them. I am tired of having them be out here, and quite frankly, I just want some Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man is a good character. I would love to see more Spider-Man movies, and whether they're in the MCU or not doesn't really matter to me.
No, not at all. It's just Spider-Man. Everyone loves Spider-Man. He's more popular than Batman. Utilize the popularity of Spider-Man. Make yourselves more money. But you're not gonna do that because you're all freaking dumb.
And also, I wouldn't mind seeing standalone Spider-Man movies. Also, wouldn't it be really cool? I'm pitching this idea. It would be really cool to see a movie from the perspective of the villain. Give us a Spider-Man movie that's from the perspective of the villain dealing with Spider-Man.
Wouldn't that be nice? I'll write it.
Honey, they're not going to listen to you, and they don't care. This one goes to the garbage heap where it, quite frankly, seems to belong.
Don't insult garbage heaps.
Okay, let's do this. Therapy. This way for the therapy.
And now we move on to the diagnosis of the week.
Where we diagnose the week with a mental illness.
Because someone has to.
And we have an interesting diagnosis for you this week.
Do tell.
So the diagnosis for this week is creative hubris.
Please explain.
So creative hubris refers to an excessive pride or arrogance in one's creative decisions, leading to a disregard for feedback, criticism, or input from others, including fans. This can result in creators making choices that prioritize their own vision or ego over the desires or expectation of their audience, potentially leading to creative missteps or alienating fans. The term likely emerged from observations of patterns of behavior in decision-making among creators and creative teams.
In relation to today's topics, with the XMen 97 series, creative hubris can be seen in the decisions made by the creators of the series, where changes to beloved characters and storylines appear to prioritize a specific narrative direction over the preferences of the fans, leading to alienation and backlash.
With the Fantastic Four casting, creative hubris is evident in the casting choices relying on familiar names to carry the project rather than listening to fans and reading the room on the diminishing returns of the MCU as a whole.
And with Madam Web, creative hubris is reflected in the poorly received decisions and narrative choices of the Madam Web film, which prioritizes a self-centered agenda over engaging storytelling, leading to it floundering at the box office.
Hubris has always been a thing. Creative hubris is even more of a thing. It's time for Hollywood to recognize that we don't need them to tell us what we should want. They're not going to get there, but that's what they're doing. They think that they know better and that we need to be told what we should like. It's coming to a point now where we are speaking with our wallets. We're not showing up for your films. We don't care what you feel we need to know. How about giving us something that we all like and we're all asking for, and then subtly or behind the scenes putting something in it rather than making it the driving force behind the project? Now, that might not sound crazy to you, but to Hollywood, that's blasphemy. And we're going to see more of that over and over until eventually, what they say about hubris, eventually it will lead to their downfall. And that's why I feel it's a great diagnosis for this week.
I agree.
That is all we have for this week. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe with notifications on so you do not miss your weekly therapy session.
Or you will be charged.
Gothic Therapy,
out.